Hey guys, welcome back to Rooted Homeschool. I'm so glad you're here. If you're new here, I'm Christina. I'm a homeschool mom of 5. I also recently went back to work. I'm teaching full-time in person. I had been teaching virtually. We are nearing the end of our first year homeschooling, and so we have almost a school year under our belts for homeschooling. Most of that year I was teaching virtually from home, and just recently I just finished up my first week of teaching back in person. So that was definitely a learning curve. Things went well. Of course, I missed the kids, but I was encouraged that we are making the transition. So I have some organized chaos going on today. It is Saturday. I am doing a lot of printing and planning today. So I was hesitant to make this video because I do have a lot going on today. And I make these videos to try to be like helpful to you guys. And so I don't want to share anything that seems overwhelming. However, I do want to show you sort of how I manage some of the different things that I have going on with different age kids, but also different curriculums. And I know I say this a lot, but I just want to also give the disclaimer that like you don't have to do everything that I'm doing. And in the beginning, I did not do as much because I didn't feel like I wanted to put that much time into it, or I didn't feel like I wanted to manage too many different things. But as the year has progressed, I've kind of played around with mixing and matching different things. And it's been really cool for me to see more and more, and even for the kids to see, because they're noticing it too, how things are just naturally connecting from entirely different curriculums, how many connections there are. Today, my main thing that I'm prepping is the artists unit study from Gather Around Homeschool. The curriculum itself, how I'm setting it up, what my plans are for like how I'm going to use it, and sort of like what our first week will kind of look like. However, we do have a few other things going on as well right now in terms of units. So I'll also be printing our lessons for the week for our square foot gardening curriculum. Also printing our week for exploring nature with children, because we will be doing that this week. We've been doing that for a little over a month and we're really liking it. And it can literally take one day to do it if you want to include it, or a half a day even. You could do it as much or as little as you like, but we're really enjoying it. And this week it is wildflowers. So I'm really excited because that will connect with our gardening unit. It will also connect with a free dandelion unit that I did get about a week or two ago. So it will connect with that, and just some like really fun spring things that I want to do with them. And then because we are doing the artists unit, I did also purchase 2 $5 units from Stephanie Hathaway Designs, which I've shared with you guys before. She offers a lot of freebies, so definitely check out that section of her website. However, she does also offer like really beautiful, really affordable unit studies. So I grabbed the Monet unit study and the Van Gogh unit study. They're both artist studies, obviously. And so I'll be using them along with the artists unit for Gather Around Homeschool, not because I think you need to add to it at all, because I just want to stress that, like, if you are new to homeschooling or you haven't even started yet and you're thinking about homeschooling, please don't let what I'm doing overwhelm you. Like, it's towards the end of the year, so I have almost a school year of homeschooling under my belt. I'm also a teacher. I also have 5 kids. So like, I somewhat have some experience with this stuff. So I just want to say, like, if you're just starting out, my number one piece of advice to you is to try Gather Around Homeschool, because it does include all subjects other than math. So you would literally only need to get Gather Around and a math curriculum for your kids, and all of your kids, no matter how many you have, no matter what their ages are, can all use the same curriculum. There are notebooks for each of their levels. Like, one purchase, you have everything you need. You do not have to do much pre-planning, especially if you were to order your books in print. You wouldn't even have to do the stuff that I'm doing today. I just don't do that because I like to print the things out myself. But anyway, I've been printing things as I've been getting things organized. I still have more to print. However, if I was just prepping for the artist's unit study, it would be a lot less time and a lot less energy. And if I was just prepping for the week, like if we were into the unit study and I was just prepping for the week and printing for the week, because typically I just print what I need for the week instead of printing like everything as a whole, it would not take as long. Like, so if I wasn't starting a new unit and I wasn't mixing and matching different units that I plan to use, it wouldn't take as much time and it wouldn't seem as much to organize. So hopefully that doesn't overwhelm you. So if you would like to see the artist's unit and or how I prep for it and how I prep for the week in general, stay tuned. Okay guys, so I finally got everything printed for the artist's unit for the first week. And I say first week in terms of like the gather round week is meant to be 4-day week. So I printed everything for the first 4 lessons and then any other like extra things from the appendix or from like the table of contents, like those kinds of things. Any of the extras that need to be printed, I printed. We probably won't do 4 lessons this first week because we are doing so many other things. And I want to actually extend some of the artist studies a little bit further. Like lesson 2 is painters. And like I mentioned, I did get those 2 units from Stephanie Hathaway Designs on Monet and Van Gogh. And I do have some books from the library that I'll show you. So we may only do 2 lessons from Gather Round this first week, and that's okay because some of the different types of art we'll want to dig into a little bit more. So I'm not in a huge rush with it. I actually want to take our time. I don't care if it takes us through to the end of the school year, because I feel like there's so many great things in there for us to dive into. I don't want to rush it. Before I set up everyone's binders, I'll kind of show you what I printed out. I am still printing, but I'm printing on cardstock some of the art from Van Gogh and Monet, and then I'll show you those when those print out and how I plan to use those. You'll notice right on my kitchen bench here that I have all 3 of the older kids' binders and things printed out. So I still need to write their names on here. Then there's always a letter from Rebecca, which I love. It's a reading log for Gia's age, which I think will be fun. We haven't really been doing those lately, but I think she'll enjoy that because she really loves this kind of stuff. Then of course there is the table of contents. There's always like some kind of little artwork that they can color in that goes along with the unit. And then for the pre-reader, because they are intended to do the ready to read, this is just a way to tie them in with the main unit. They only have 2 pages and it's really simple just to kind of tie things in with them. This is really cool because I actually have this coloring page anyway, but this for lesson 2, like I mentioned, is painters and it does focus on Van Gogh. So I did get that Van Gogh unit knowing that I would want to dive in deeper, and part of that unit does include this coloring page of his sunflowers painting, so that's kind of cool. It's just like a natural connection already. Lesson 3, which again we may not even get to till the second week for us, is dancers, and Gia loves ballet, so it'll be really cool to jump into that as well. Lesson 4 is poets, and we do a lot of like poetry tea time and stuff, so that'll be another day. That'll be a day I probably do poetry tea time to go along with that. And then I don't think I mentioned it, lesson 1, it just gives an overview to focus on like what art is and how. What I love about this unit, if you look at the table of contents, it defines art as so many different things. There are so many different types of artists, dancers and poets and cartoonists and culinary artists and sculptors and actors and singers, and so many types of art covered, which I absolutely love. So then also there is a very small appendix. It looks like she'll be making some kind of book. I have not gone through lesson by lesson. That's what I like about Gather Round, is you don't have to. It's pretty open and go. And then for Jackson, I choose upper elementary for him because he's in 4th grade. So I feel like he's kind of on that cusp. If you're not sure where to start your child, you could always start them and then change it for the next unit or at any point during the unit, especially if you're printing yourself. So there is a recitation page for this level, as well as my middle schooler, there's the letter from Rebecca, the table of contents. Then this book report page, this is actually from the middle school notebook, but I did print a double because I want him and Justice to both do this, my middle schooler. So there was a reading log that was not the same as Gia's, but not the same as Justice's. So we'll see how this goes. Instead of him having to complete one every time he reads a book, I'll have him just do, since there are two, I printed it double-sided, and I'll do the same for both of the boys. I'll let them do one on like a smaller picture book, because I do still have age-appropriate picture books. People think that like middle schoolers and high schoolers, there's no value in reading picture books, and I just could not disagree more. However, I do think reading longer chapter books is also important, so I'll let them choose one picture book and one chapter book that they do throughout the unit to complete this, quote-unquote book report. Then they have seat work, and so this is my first time doing one of the year 2 units from Gather Round. We've only done a handful of units, and they've all been from the year 1 set. And so this one does have some things that are a little bit different in terms of like how things are set up. And one of them is that the seat work was put all in the beginning of the binder. And so I didn't keep it that way for these guys just because they're not used to it. Just to get them used to it, what I did is I put the page that explains what the seat work is right at the beginning before lesson 1, so they can see, oh, okay, this is the new way that it's going to be. And then I put their first page where they'll complete the seat work also before lesson 1. And then I printed 2 more of these. I'm not going to have them do it every day. I might only have them do it twice. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I want them to do it more than once because the point is to kind of like copy the scripture and memorize it. It also includes a new thing with the schedule. So it'll be interesting, especially with me going back to work, seeing them try to figure out and work together to like come up with a daily schedule might actually be cool. And then the appendix for Jackson. Then for my middle schooler, many of the things are the same in terms of like there is his recitation page and his letter from Rebecca and his table of contents. His book report, which I explained he'll do the same way as Jackson. His copy work is similar, but not exactly the same. So on his, he does have that one page. I'd put it right before lesson 1 like I did for Jackson, but it looks like he'll also focus on a current event each day. And then that is what the actual copy work page looks like. Again, I put the first one right before lesson 1. I put one before lesson 2, which I'll show you in a minute. But here's like what his notebooking pages look like. So a little bit of a flip through for you. He'll have some reading to do, looking at this biography of Rembrandt. He'll have some social studies to look at, fact versus opinion. He'll have some science and art, so some collecting of data. So that's all still in lesson 1, and then that will end with him focusing on Monet. So because lesson 1 does focus a bit on Monet, I will do some of that Monet study kind of in between lessons 1 and 2, and then extending either on one day in between and one day after or something like that. So the whole week, I'm pretty sure at this point, is just going to be lesson 1 and lesson 2 as far as our artists unit goes. And then there's his second copy work page, which is the same as the first. And I put that right before his lesson 2. And then I did put the third one sort of right at the end, right after lesson 4. And like I said, I may or may not have them do that one. And I didn't show you the lesson pages for Jackson. So just going back to that, here's his lesson 1 notebooking page. So their notebooking page is always where they'll like capture notes while we are going through the actual lesson portion, which we do together. And then it looks like for him, he'll look through some kind of artist profiles. For social studies, he'll also look at fact versus opinion, but it's a little bit more age appropriate for a younger student. And then for science and art, again, collecting data, but looks a little bit different for him. Then there is this picture study, which is the same as Justice's. Also looking at some Monet. Then lesson 2, talking about Van Gogh versus Da Vinci. That's the second copy work page for Jackson. And then it looks like he'll focus on some grammar in lesson 2. So this I really love, which is also new, I believe, with year 2, this same page alert. I used to go through and try to figure out which pages they had in common, because I would tell them, I want you to do the pages that you have in common together. So not everything is either as a group or independent, but you can also do working with a partner with each other. So I love that now that's included, because I'll tell them anytime you see the same page alert, guys, I want you to do that together. So pretty cool. So just to give an idea of what these pages will look like. So those are what I have. I'm going to switch out their binders. So for example, Gia's cover page, or her cover of her binder, is at the pond, because it was the same with Square Foot Gardening, because we launched that like 2 weeks ago. And then a week later, I introduced her second Ready to Read program at the pond, because I didn't want to start 2 things at once, because just to make it easier. And so now I will change everyone's, including mine, to artists, and then everything else will kind of be like secondary units, and our main unit will be artists now. And then here's my teacher's guide stuff. So my cover page, I did also include a recitation page for myself. Somehow I printed an extra somewhere along the way. Not sure how that happened. But also in year 2, something that's new is that instead of everything being in the teacher's guide, they separated some things out into a teacher's companion. So I'll have to keep you guys posted how I like that. I do print these planning pages, even though I do use a planner, because sometimes I might want to write some extra things that are just specific to this unit that may not fit in here. So I still print that out. And then what I do like about this artist unit, which I hasn't been in any of my year 1 units, I'm not exactly sure where they started doing this, if it was right in the beginning of year 2 or what, but I love the book lists. I always have loved the book lists so far, but what I love even more here is that they separate out the books by lesson. So I don't have to like get all the books ahead of time. What I did is I looked through till I believe I did go past lesson 4, even though I do things like usually by a gather round week as far as planning, but I think I went to lesson 6. I did, because I definitely have some composer books in there, and I'll show you that in a minute. So I looked through the first 6 lessons just to get ahead, and I ordered books from the library, a couple from each section. And another thing that's really great is it does show you like the recommended level for each of the books. Like some are for just pre-reader, some are for pre-reader and early reader. You know, some are for upper elementary and middle school and high school. So they do have those recommendations in there as well. And then it shows you exactly what will be on their seat work. So in the past, it just kind of explains what each student will be doing. And then this, it shows you exactly what it looks like. Like it shows you exactly what their pages are. So I did print all that out, and it does also have an answer key in there, which is kind of nice. And so I didn't print everything from the teacher's companion. This is just some of it, what I felt like I would need right away. So I'll put that in the very beginning of my binder. And then I'll probably put this in a page protector, because this is the table of contents. And then everything after it, these are the actual lessons that I will read to them, or that will take turns reading. Sometimes we'll just do it right from the binder. And then sometimes we'll actually project it onto our TV in the living room. We'll just hang out on the couch and project it and do it that way. So some of these I could have printed out on cardstock, and I may still do that and put up here, because I did take down I just had like a little tomato garland for my gardening unit. And I took those down. I just had something simple for that. And I'm going to add up some of those paintings that I printed out on cardstock. But I think I may go back later because I'm kind of running out of steam for today. I may go back later and print some of these from here and include those as well, because I'll just be printing, you know, Monet and Van Gogh from those extra units that I purchased. But this seems to have like a Da Vinci or a couple Da Vinci's, and so I might do that as well. I may print those out on cardstock as well. So yeah, so I'm going to set up everyone's binders, and then I will show you the books that I got to go along with it. And then everything else, originally I was gonna print everything for the week for like the gardening unit and exploring nature with children, but like I said, I'm running out of gas. So I think I'm gonna do the rest of that later or tomorrow. Okay, so binders are completely set up. I already showed you how I was going to set them up, so I won't spend a lot of time flipping through them. But you can see just for my teacher's guide, I have the front cover and I put the recitation page right in here. I have an extra, which I decided like was an accident that I copied it, but I decided to keep because inevitably someone will need an extra one throughout the unit. And as I mentioned, like all of my planner pages are right here in the beginning, and my book lists, which I am going to show you, as I mentioned, the books that I selected as like my first library order for this unit and how exactly I'll use those. And then this shows my days at a glance, like lesson 1, day at a glance. It shows me what everyone's doing for language arts and art, what everyone's doing for social studies. Then I did also put my table of contents in a page protector, as I mentioned, and then I put the recitation page here again, and then all of the lessons up to lesson 4 are right in here. That will probably, I have decided that will probably be 2 weeks for us. So in the beginning, while we are working on some other units that we're doing, I think we'll do 2 lessons a week for Gather Round, which I like because, like I said, we will dig in more to some of the art. And I decided, so these are taking obviously a long time to print because they are full paintings. So I chose 10 that I printed of Van Gogh, and Monet is printing right now. And so what I decided is when I introduce the unit to them on day 1 on Monday, I am going to have a Monet gallery set up for them. So I'll put some up on our garland area, and then I'll put some on easels on the table, and if I have to, I'll put some on the walls, and it will be sort of like them being at a Monet gallery. And so we'll do lesson 1, but then we'll also dive into starting to look at Monet, and I might pull some of the activities from the Stephanie Hathaway Designs Monet unit that I bought. Like there's a really cool paper doll activity that Gia can do, and there are some coloring pages. So like for her, instead of having her paint this, which she probably will want to paint it, so she may want to do both. I'll have her do one of the coloring pages, or maybe Sethi, if he's awake and home, I'll have him do one of the coloring pages with us. And it's just really cool because just thinking again about connections, these things will also tie in with our Exploring Nature with Children Wildflower Week that we'll be doing this week, because it's Wildflower Week in Exploring Nature with Children. So it's just really cool, all the connections. These I'll do for lesson 2, so probably like Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, we'll do lesson 1 and Monet study and art, along with some of the other units that we'll be doing. And then Wednesday, I'll have this out, you know, all of the Van Gogh art, the same way that I'm doing a gallery for Monet, I'll do for Van Gogh. You know, switch out the artwork and have them on the easels and up there. And Wednesday, Thursday, we'll focus on Van Gogh. And then Friday, I think I'm going to do like some sort of poetry tea time with them for like the dandelion unit that I did grab, because that'll kind of wrap up our Wildflower Week for Exploring Nature with Children. But we'll kind of see how it goes. I change things throughout the week from day to day. I kind of give myself an overall plan, And then depending on what we get done in one day or where things go, I may change things up as we go. So I don't like stress me or them to stick to like a specific plan. I keep it pretty flexible. So printing out the rest of these, and then I am going to be done for today. Realistically, I don't have to do any more. If I just want to start artists on Monday, I wouldn't have to do anything more, period. And I have like a week's worth of artist lessons printed out. And if I decided, you know what, I'm not prepping anymore, it would be totally fine. I know that probably later and tomorrow, I'll do some of those extras that I want to print and just have ready for the week. And I've said this before in previous videos, if we don't get to it or we get to it later than I planned, I'm totally fine with that. I just love all of the different resources that are out there for homeschooling. And all the time, I always want to do like everything. And I know that's not possible, but I try to tie things in together where I can because the kids really love it too. Like they love the excitement about like new and fresh things. So the last thing I will show you is the books that I selected and the books that I'll actually use for this first week. And I'll show you where I'm going to put them and how I'm going to use them. And then that is it, guys. So these are all of the books that I ordered ahead of time for the artist unit. I have a ridiculous amount of books out from the library right now because I have them for like the pond unit and for nature studies and all of those things. So I have a lot of books out, but this is what I have out so far for the artist unit. As I mentioned, I pulled books from lessons 1 through 6. So you'll notice that like over here, I have basically painters and then this kid artist's book. And the reason I have these together is these are the ones I'm going to put up on our Montessori style bookshelves in the playroom. So I will show you that. These other ones I'm going to put away because even though Degas is a painter, I decided that since there is a lesson, lesson 3 is about ballet dancers, I'm going to put Degas with Firebird, which is a book about Misty Copeland. And so these will go out probably next week or at the end of this week. And then these are about cartoonists. I am Jim Henson and I am Walt Disney. So I want to say the cartoonist lesson is like lesson 5 and then composers is lesson 6. So I have these that I will put out for lesson 6. So these will probably go out like the same week as those or a couple days after. And so that's what I got for books, and I'll show you how I'll set that up. Okay, so I have pulled off almost all of the books. Most of them were pond books, and it was hard because they were beautiful, but I did put most of them in a stack to go back to the library because I also do have a new stack of pond books as well as books about wildflowers to go along with our Exploring Nature with Children unit. So I think I'm going to keep all of those there, and then I'll fill in this shelf and that shelf. So that Biggest Puddle in the World may come down. That is one of our books, and the Big Book of Blooms is also one of our books. So this wall will more become like our nature study books, and then this wall will become our artists' books. Although it's interesting, the connections, because many of the pieces of art are of nature. So that's pretty cool also. So I'll show you how I set this up. Okay, so this is what I ended up going with. I ended up putting Van Gogh right on the top. And then I did order some Monet books from the library, but they haven't come in. So maybe they'll come in Monday and I can, just grab them for our gallery walk setup. So Van Gogh on the top, and then there is one more Van Gogh book there. And then I have the Radiant Child's book, the Kid Artists, and then at the bottom I put Georgia O'Keeffe, Frida Kahlo, and Picasso. So kind of like a good mix of artists, both men and women, a little bit of diversity, which is very important to me. And then later or tomorrow, as I mentioned, I will fill in this wall with more of our nature study books. So I hope you guys liked this video. Hopefully I didn't overwhelm you because it is kind of a lot. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it doesn't have to be. So like, I'm choosing to be a little bit extra right now. I'm really excited about the stuff that we're doing. So I really don't mind. Like I said, I am getting tired, so I'm not gonna do everything that I planned on doing. And if I don't get to everything tomorrow, like, I'm not gonna stress it. but I do have a lot of really exciting things planned that I am really excited about. So to kind of see how I do the gallery setups and all of those things, definitely follow me on Instagram if you're not already at rooted_homeschool, because then you can see sort of like how those day-to-day setups look. Although I'm sure at some point I will do a lesson with us from the artists unit. So anyhow, if you like this video, please click the like button, comment below. If you're not subscribed already, subscribe to my channel, click the notifications button so you can get a notification when a new video is coming out. And until next time, stay rooted.